Hello. So I was just looking at a little graph, and it was shown it's from 2022-23, right? And it was shown the most popular newborn babies' boys' names, right, for that year or in the previous years. And it's a fascinating piece of information to get, right, or to look at, because I think it says an awful lot. It says an awful lot, and it can, to me anyway, it reveals that the things that are going on in Ireland, they're not going on unknowing, right? Being unknown to the Irish people, right? I believe that the dangers that await us and the potentials that could unfold based on where we're situated right now in this moment in this current state of ourselves, right? It impacts on people physiologically before cognitively, right? So to give an example, did you ever go into a room and feel like something was off? There was a tension there. You have a feeling that something bad is going to happen, and then it turns out that it does, right? Or you act on that instinct and you leave, and then you hear later that something did happen, right? That kind of a thing. That instinctual physiological response to tension in other people in the room, or deceptive presentations from people, right? People who are pretending to be friendly, but their intentions are not, right? We pick up on these sorts of things. We pick up on deception, right? Lie detector tests. We pick up on deception in ourselves, right? And we also pick up on deception in other people, because our nervous system will acclimatize and attune into and pick up the nervous systems of other people, right? So if you're someone that is waiting to do something, that's going to be there in their nervous system before they act on it, because they're thinking of it, they're planning on it, right? So to a certain degree, they are embodying that state of nervous muscular tension, related to the action that they're foreseeing themselves engaging in, right? And we pick up on that as people that are just present in the room with that, right? Humans have that, babies have that as well. Children, like, you'll see kids who just won't take to someone, and they'll say it as well, not a bother on them, right? They go, I don't like him, mommy, daddy, I don't like him, take him away, right? Listen to that, because it's instinctual. There is no lie there, right? Same with animals, dogs particularly, right? Dogs, you can see this with them. They move how you move. If you're nervous, they're nervous. If you're calm, relaxed, they're calm, relaxed, right? And the dogs will take an instant dislike to somebody as well, right? For the same reasons. They pick up on it. They pick up on something not right here. That person's not zen, so to speak, right? There's a rift there. There's an instability in that person's presence, right? The energy they're giving off, their nervous energy, their nervous system is not one of coherence, congruence, honesty, and relaxation, right? Relaxation equaling good, non-threatening, and then a distortion in someone's nervous system is volatile, potentially dangerous, right? We pick up on these things. So I believe that all of this stuff is registering in the body of people, right? People, and this is where anxieties come from. It's feelings of depression, thoughts of suicide, not solely on this stuff, right? But it's a big part to play, because this is the world that we live in, and we interact with the world daily. So we get feedback from the world as well, right? And that's not always positive. But the names are fascinating, right? So number one, obviously, is in the part of Limerick, Mohammed is one of the most common newborn baby boys' names, right? Fair enough. Put that aside. That has its own, that says its own thing, right? We know where that comes from. We know where that leads. We know what that's about, okay? But I'll go through some of the Irish names, because the rest of the country are kind of generic, not common enough or generic enough Irish names, right? But what those names mean is fascinating. What those names mean, and the etymology of those names, where they come from, right? What those names mean, what those names meant at their inception, right? Or as early as we can see those names coming into existence, they had a specific meaning attached to them. And I'll go through some of them. So One name is Rian, right? Rian. So Ryan, but as a forename, a first name, Christian name, if you will. And Rian comes from the word Ri, which is king in Irish. And the an then is like a kind of a suffix to denote smallness, right? So Rian could be little king or prince. Noah, fascinatingly enough, right? If you go by the Hebrew rendering or uh, origin of this name, Noah is obviously the regenerator of civilization after the deluge, right? After the flood, right? Take what you want from that, right? But Noah is the person who repopulated and was burdened with the duty and the mission of replenishing the earth after cataclysm. And what's fascinating is that most civilizations have their own version of this, whether it is because those people have a collective memory of this, or whether it is a case if they picked up this story from elsewhere and they just liked it, right? And they, as is the case, they say with Ireland, that we kind of co-opted this story to make ourselves feel like we're more important in terms of biblical history than we actually were, right? That's one argument for the Irish case, right? But there's other arguments against that too. So we have Rian, little king; Noah, regenerator of the world, right? Replenisher of the earth, and sustainer of mankind too, okay, in the face of almost total obliteration. However, it's always been interesting to me that Noah is very similar to me as the word Nuada, or the name Nuada, the title even, if you will, the name Nuada, Nuadha, right, which could also be pronounced as Nua or Noah, right? That's my own speculation on that, but Nuada is, or was, sorry, the first king of Ireland in regards of the Tuatha Dé Danann, right? The Tuatha Dé Danann, right? This kind of mythical, super intelligent, super spiritual, super, what would you even call them? Enlightened beings, right? So this, you can look at that as a state of man that he could have been in, where he was more attuned with himself, with others, with the world around him, right? With the music of the spheres, so to speak, right? He lived in line more with nature than with man's technical capabilities, channeling nature or over nature. Or you can look at it as a specific type of people. Either way, Irish mythology, not that it starts with Nuada, but it's a significant portion of it, right? So we have king referenced here again. Nuada was a king after all. So we have a king, two kings here with the names, and a replenisher of mankind, right? We also have Pádraig, or Pádraig, right? And Pádraig obviously comes from Pádraig, which comes from Patrick, which comes from Patricius, which is a nobleman in Latin, right? The patricians of Rome, which Patrick was an heir to, okay? And subsequently Ireland became an heir to Rome as well, or an adherent to Rome, based on the teachings of Patrick. But we have nobleman again, right? So we have fascinating, just on these words, we have fascinating glimpses into different parts of Irish history. And with Muhammad potentially the Irish future as well. We have Jack, which is a derivative of the word John, right? Which is Anglo-Saxon import, or Norman import, sorry, even into Ireland. English, essentially, right? We brought it over. Sorry, they came over, right? And the name stuck, right? So which is fitting as well, because they married in, right? There's a mixture of them here, so it would make sense that the name would crop up every now and again, right? The ripples of time, right, in history. Certain memories, certain tendencies in the people will come to the surface periodically across different ages. So yeah, that's fine. Oisin, another one, who was the last of the Fianna, right? The last of the great fighting men of Ireland, right? He was the last of a dying breed. That name is resurfacing. Killian, which is said to mean kell or a kill, right? Which is a small den or a monastic then, so to speak, right? And that word, we have St. Killian, is said to come from around the 7th century, but there's also another linking of it, or another potential origin of it, which is the Gaelic. So Ceallach, right, which is the old hag, or probably the Irish version of the Hindu Kali, right, Kali, who comes with her arms, her garlands of skulls around her, right, and her weapons dripping with blood, right? So she is war and strife. So that name is cropping up, right? Fascinating. And then we have finally Connor, right? Who Connor MacNassa, right? An old semi-historical, semi-mythological king in Irish history. But the word Connor also comes from Coo. You remember that from Cú Chulainn, which is the hound, right? And Cabar, or Concabar, which is the original name of it, meant a helper or in aid of. So with the help of a hound, right, or a protector, even guard dog, this sort of a thing. What else is there? Yeah, look, and ultimately then we've another association with kingship. So what's the point of all of that? Who knows? Who knows? Might mean not, and it could just be purely coincidental. But given the context in which we're living, I think it's a little bit revealing as to what is beginning to emerge from out of the collective Irish psyche, which is a re-engaging with our history in totality, warts and all, right? We have not aligning with any side, recognizing that contexts shift over time, paradigms change with ages, and we need not be bound to any specific ideological or theological framework in order to move forward, right? Because there's a growing threat there, namely in the name Muhammad, which is indicative of a growing theocracy in potential, right? So I think what's coming up from yet to be manifested in conscious awareness, right, in a lot of people, is the recognition that for Ireland, the future generation of Irish people, or the current youth, the current newborn generation of Irish people, needs to be bestowed with strength and greatness. And the names that are being given to those kids, boys in particular, are related to kingship, healers, leaders, protectors, noblemen, and war and strife. I find that fascinating.